Joining me now is Michael Konnert, Vizsla Silver.
Very nice to be here, Carl.
Also known as Vizsla Silver, depending on how you want to say it.
Exactly.
We're going to go over your silver projects here. You're a founder of the company, right?
That's right, yeah.
Awesome. So why don't we start off with this? How much of the company do you own?
I own about 2 or 3% right now. It was a lot more when we started, of course, but we've taken on some dilution, of course, to accomplish what we have.
Market cap right now is what, around 225 million, 250 million?
USD, that's right, yeah.
Oh, USD, that's correct. Okay. How would you sort of, when you look at sort of what you did in 2022, what's your assessment, your own assessment of your goals?
Well, it's pretty incredible actually, and this is all the team that we have that's unlocked a huge amount of value at the project. So in 2022, we drilled over 120,000 meters of diamond holes, which is
that's a lot.
It's a lot for kind of anybody, really.
Yeah.
We made a major discovery of the Copala vein, and then that all fed into the resource that we put out in the very beginning of this year. So we raised money that year from very strong investors. We kicked goals when it came to the drilling and the resources and discovery. So I'm incredibly proud of the accomplishments and the work that the team did in 2022. But I think this year is going to be the best yet. And
so you're still exploring. You're trying to still double this again, kind of thing, or?
Yeah, I suspect that this is going to be one of these famous billion-ounce districts in Mexico. So right now, combined, our resources is just under 220 million ounces, silver equivalent. But our vision is to become one of the world's largest single-asset silver primary producers.
Yeah, and there isn't a lot out there.
There's very few.
Yeah. Because silver is a byproduct.
Yeah.
This is a good time to talk about cautionary statements and forward-looking statements, as you are talking and being very optimistic, my friend.
Exactly.
So just a little FYI so people understand that. Okay, so what's your plan? How many meters do you want to get done in 2023?
2023 will accomplish 90,000 meters, so a little bit less than the past two previous years. But
and why is that?
Well, we've become more efficient with our drilling. We're drilling a wider structure, which is Copala.
Yeah.
So the actual kind of effect of this drilling has become more and more efficient. The way to quantify that is cost per ounce discovered, and it's gone from about a quarter per ounce US to about 15 cents since this last resource. So it costs us, another way to say that is it costs us 15 cents to discover an ounce of silver.
Right. So if I'm looking at your deck and your marketing material, Copala is what really gets people excited, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
So that's where your focus is.
The focus is absolutely on drilling Copala itself out, but one of the things that that we've been pretty excited about is the potential for Copala style mineralization, which would be a faulted off section of the down dip extension of Copala to the east. And kind of early indications are that looks really positive.
Now, is your deposit, is it closed off in any areas yet, or is it wide open?
All open, yeah. All the resource areas were open for expansion.
Nice. Any new technologies that you're using to sort of see that deposit and analyze where to put the drills?
Yeah, I guess there's two ways that I look at this. There's the traditional prospecting, mapping, sampling, drilling, kind of stuff that hasn't changed for many years. But we do like to use technology as well, and that really has more to do with like EM, electromagnetics.
Yeah.
And so we've had some success early on with EM. Particularly at the Napoleon area, and we made a new discovery with EM.
Okay.
But we haven't really used it in the Copala area. So the biggest holdup, I know this is kind of frustrating for people, but it's really frustrating for me too. We can't find a service provider in Mexico well, there's not one in Mexico for this specific type of EM.
Okay.
And there's not a group that wants to go from Nevada or wherever
to Mexico
to do it because of the border. It's highly specialized equipment. So what we're going to do, I think this year, I don't know, I don't want to, speaking of forward-looking statements, I don't want to say this is exactly when it's going to get done, but we're working on a plan to use the ground EM, what we used on Napoleon instead of airborne, to find the signatures of Copala and potentially run ground EM over the western part of our area. The property is too big to do the whole thing by ground EM, but we may also use IP. So there's some high technology or high, some modern technology that we're looking to apply to the district.
Who's on the team running things boots on the ground, and what experience do they have in Mexico?
Well, there's a whole team, starting with Martin Dupuis, who's our COO. Martin worked at the Dolores mine for Pan American. He spent, I think, 10 years with Pan American. Before that, he worked at Ocampo for Arico. So he's got almost 20 years of experience in Mexico directly, but he's also worked in other countries.
Yeah.
He's the manager of the project essentially, for technically, and we have Hernando Riuda, who's our country manager. Hernando was at Agnico, Capstone. He's a Mexican expert in terms of country management, running the project as well. But there's Jesus Velador, who's our VPX, and Jesus has been instrumental in some of these new theories, and I think the new discovery, and his team certainly, and Carlos Beltran, our chief geologist in the country, have had these incredible theories that have seemed to have come to fruition here, including this uplifted block. So, technically Jesus is tailor-made for this project. He has a PhD in epithermal systems in Mexico. He was actually on the Fresnillo side of the discovery of Juanicipio for MAG.
MAG Silver?
MAG Silver, yeah. He's worked for Fortuna, First Majestic, kind of every relevant company in Mexico. So
how'd you land him?
We were recruiting.
You headhunted him?
Headhunted him, yeah.
You stole him away.
Yeah, exactly. But he couldn't, and he lived, he just moved to Canada, but he lives in Mexico. He lives an hour and a half away from the project. Considers it his backyard in a way. So
sure. It's
I think Jesus, his experience and his skills are going to be very, very helpful for us.
You want to talk about your community and how you're working with the communities there, how you're working with them, and who from your team is dealing with that? Because if you don't have those things, you're not going to do very well. Yeah,
and conversely, I think it's a sign that the project can be successful if you have those things in order. And so Hernando, who I mentioned earlier, and that's all with Martin's team, and Antonio, our head of community relations, they've done an incredible job of actually having long-term production agreements in place with the ejidos, the landowners there.
Right.
And so we have 4 or 5 ejido groups. I think the 5th will likely get signed relatively soon. But all the core areas of our work, anywhere we've been actively drilling essentially, and certainly where the resources are covered by long-term agreements. And these are the type of agreements that you see, big companies fighting about all the time, right? And so for us at our stage to have that, I think is a sign that the community is on side of the project. We've hired 70% of our workforce is directly from the community.
Perfect. So you're giving jobs to the community.
Yeah, and it's awesome. It's great to see. Not that it was a terrible place or anything. It was beautiful towns, but I think people are benefiting from these jobs, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In certain places in the world, people rely on mining.
Yeah.
They build communities.
And that's what they did. They were all miners before, but
yeah.
We have over 1.1 million hours of injury-free or loss of time incident-free work now, so It's a safe place to work.
So, how did you get started in this whole thing?
Well, we talked about Craig and his vocabulary a little bit earlier, but aside from being a good Scrabbleist, I don't know if that's a word, Craig's an excellent mentor as well. And so I was working, started about over 10 years ago in the business, kind of almost at the very top. And I studied entrepreneurship and business in school, and was drawn into this world that I really didn't know existed in Vancouver. And when I kind of figured out what, junior mining or the kind of venture capital space around mineral properties and mining was, I was kind of hooked immediately. And I spent a number of years prior to meeting Craig kind of working for companies and trying to learn as much as I could from all aspects. And then I was attempting to take a company public and had a gold property in the Yukon, and that
Yeah.
kind of fell over. And I just really kind of met Craig and was talking with him and asked him to be a mentor to me, and
Nice.
so I was kind of a bit distraught. So I called him up. Hey, do you have time to chat?
Yeah.
And he tells the story better than I will. But we ended up, that day starting a cobalt company. And
That
I'd
day?
already had and he was like, well, why don't
What
we
year
just
was
do
this?
this? 2016 probably.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cobalt was hot back
It was.
then.
It was. Well,
Yeah.
lithium was kind of going through its first real cycle there.
Yeah,
And
then
I
it fell
thought-
off a cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
cobalt was getting,
Cobalt was good next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I kind of thought, well, if lithium's doing this, I know there's more cobalt in the batteries, and I had the short list of properties that I knew about, and I was telling Craig about it. He said, why don't we get that one? I said, what do you mean? It's just, you do it, I'll back you. I said, okay, that's great. And so I had kind of a path to do that, and ended up staking all around this cobalt property that I knew, because I already got my staking license online in BC. I was kind of fully trying all angles.
Yeah.
And so we ended up doing a deal with someone who's become a great friend of ours now, Roger McClay, to buy the Little Gem cobalt property. And conveniently, Roger's the one that introduced us to the Panuco project too, so it paid off several times over. But Craig and I had sold Cobalt 1, what we called Cobalt 1, just right before my 30th birthday. And I kind of had a goal to
Wow.
become a millionaire, I guess, by 30 and these things. And that was, that really helped me achieve that. It was an incredible win for Craig and myself.
Okay,
Anytime.
so you accomplished your millionaire before 30?
Yeah.
Yes. Good for you, man.
So that was, it's kind of a personal, I don't
Win.
talk about that a
No,
lot.
hey,
but,
your
yeah.
history is shareholders need to know if you're a winner, man.
Well, and the thing was too that gave me all of the ability then to start Vizsla, and that's why actually the day that we closed on the cobalt deal, I incorporated two companies. One was Vizsla, and the other was Inventa. And Inventa is the partnership, Craig and my partnership that we're both co-founders of, that we operate our umbrella of companies and incubate ideas and entrepreneurs and things like that. And Vizsla was really the first company there. So I had kind of some runway then to, over the following year, take Vizsla public.
So what year was it, 2018?
That was 17. It was fall of 17. Well, I'm a staunch believer in the value of metals, and how I suspect that we're going to have a hell of a time here soon with metals. But
okay, so yeah, so you took it public around 2017.
Yeah, 17 I incorporated it, and then fall of 18 we IPO'd Vizsla.
Yeah.
But in that time I was, we had a small property and a copper property, and I was looking around the world, flying all over the place, trying to find the next project that we could put into Vizsla. And the cobalt win, helped basically gave me the capital to do that.
Absolutely.
And but I'd put basically all the money, spare money or life savings I had into Vizsla to start it.
Sounds like an Elon Musk move.
I wish I had more though, because I would have loved to have owned 25 instead of 2.5%. But
Hey,
that was a time of of the company and my progression. But
what's your average cost now?
it would be, I think it's well over 40-50 cents or something like that, because I've been buying recently.
So you're averaging down? No, you're averaging up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Averaging up. Yeah.
Averaging up.
The company is very well financed now. So we raised about $80 million in the last 4 or 5 months, really since November. And we're in a position now where we've just under 60 million in the bank to continue to drill.
Yeah.
So
where'd you get that money? I got to ask you.
So we have some very strong, very supportive shareholders that share our vision here. And we're very fortunate to have these shareholders, and great groups in the capital markets have done a good job of making those introductions. And so we're constantly, marketing meetings, things like that, and I think that's important. So that money is going to unlock several catalysts for us here. The first is an updated resource in the second half of this year is what we're planning for, and then the the next major milestone after that we're looking is likely economics, which could very well be in early 2024.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be great. So you want to make it as large as you can as you're getting into that stuff.
Yeah. And there's a couple things that might change that trajectory. One is this drilling at the uplifted block, because if we find a Copala, another extension of Copala, or that's been faulted off, or double the resources at Copala, I mean, that'll change the mine plan and the path forward obviously for the better.
Yeah.
So the resource is a point in time. The economics, I think, will demonstrate how robust this can be here for the company. So, we suspect that this can very, very easily be a 15 to 20 million ounce per annum silver equivalent producer, which is
it's pretty big.
It's massive. Yeah.
And you're in a pretty safe jurisdiction. Lots of big mining producers invest hard dollars into that.
Oh yeah. Mining's so important to the economy of Mexico, and people like to speak a little bit harshly on Mexico, and there's reasons for that, but I see the future for Mexico to be very bright for mining.
Okay, so when it comes to insiders, how much do insiders own of this company?
So we own about between 12 and 16%. Certainly more, obviously, on a fully diluted basis with warrants that we have. But I bought some stock earlier this month, I suppose, or last month, I guess.
What price did you get it at?
I want to say $1.70, around $1.70.
Okay.
Yeah. But we've been buying stock. Like the biggest insider purchase was Craig a few financings ago at $2.50, and he bought $4 million worth.
There's nothing better, right?
Absolutely believe we're I like to say criminally undervalued, because on an EV per ounce basis, we're trading off about 50% from our peers. So we'll achieve that in short order, I think, by further de-risking. But for me, there's not really a better investment out there than buying our own Vizsla stock. So I like to buy as much as I can.
I think that is a fantastic spot to leave this interview.
Perfect.
I think that would just be great. So we'll sign off now, and we're not far from your destination.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Carl.
Absolutely.